Overtown, the largest black community of Miami before desegregation, was made up of a crosswork of people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. The Jim Crow laws of the South crammed doctors, lawyers, teachers, and other people into this small area of the city of Miami. And despite the obstacles they faced, their work and efforts made Overtown into a thriving community. Today, 235 Northwest 10th Street is an empty lot, but in its heyday, the home of Patrick Felder and Hannah Dukes stood here. The family lived in Sanford and Jacksonville before moving to Miami in the 1920s. But before that, Hannah and Patrick lived in South Carolina. Patrick worked as an insurance agent, then as a porter for the Florida East Coast Railway. By 1928, the family moved from other parts in Overtown to a 2-story wooden structure on Northwest 10th Street. Hannah and Patrick's family included several children, including their youngest child, Bessie Lucille Felder. She is the mother of Eric Jenkins.
My name is Eric Jenkins. I was born on April 7th, 1951. My family originated out of South Carolina. It was a little small caution light town called Davis Station, and that's close to Sumter, South Carolina. And my dad was from Alabama. Out of 3 kids, I had a younger sister and an older brother. My sister's name was Sue Hannah, and my brother's name was John Henry. We lived in a 2-story wooden rooming house on 10th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And my mom ran the downstairs, she was a landlord, and my grandmother she was a landlord upstairs. Second Court faced the rooming house, and if you look straight down Second Court, you can see our church, Greater Bethel AME Church.
The Felder family has had a long-standing association with the church, starting with Patrick Felder, who helped to build the current structure. The Patrick H. Felder Board is named in his honor.
Talk about being born. Miami Beach, all right, was segregated. Black folk couldn't go on Miami Beach if they didn't have work pass. The entertainment industry was huge, okay? Back in those 50s, 60s, you know what I'm saying? And black entertainers, man, would come into Miami, go on Miami Beach to entertain, white folks, and they couldn't even stay there overnight. They couldn't get a room. They would have to catch a bus back over to Overtown for room and board. Mount Sinai was the hospital where white folks were taken for hospital care. Jackson Memorial Hospital is where blacks were taken for care. But my mom was a bit of a rebel, okay? Mom got very pregnant and she went to Mount Sinai. Was not supposed to be there. And that's where I was born. She went in there so pregnant, white folks had to take care of her. Now, I don't know if my sister and brother were born there or not, but I was born in Mount Sinai, have the paper birth certificate to prove it. I've been told that my mom was a premier school teacher in Dade County. And my dad, I don't know much about my father. They didn't stay together much when they were married. They never got a divorce, though. They just separated. Dad was a Rolling Stone. He was a vet, fought in World War II, was wounded, as a matter of fact, Army veteran. And I don't even have a picture of my father now. My dad played the guitar. He would wake us up on Christmas morning playing Christmas carols. My dad did take me on a road trip one time. He took the family on a road trip. He bought this brand new Oldsmobile and packed the family in, and he drove us to Alabama. The only thing, I must have been about maybe 4 years old. The only thing I can remember from that trip is a dirt road, shotgun houses, a big screen door with this huge spring on it that I got yelled at for slamming. And I can't remember any of the people that we met up there or anything like that. Basically, that's the only memory of my dad that I have.
Meanwhile, 1 block north of the Felder home, at 171 Northwest 11th Street, stood the X-ray clinic built by Dr. Samuel H. Johnson in 1939. By the 1950s, it became a popular spot for visitors like Thurgood Marshall. Marshall would argue the Brown versus Board of Education case in front of the Supreme Court, leading to their landmark decision in 1954, partially overruling their separate but equal doctrine of 1896. Little Eric Jenkins was not immune to the effects of the separate but equal doctrine.
My first incident with segregation and racism was in a Jackson Memorial Hospital waiting room. My mom had taken me in. I had a really bad attack. I had seen the doctor, and now I'm in the waiting area, and it was segregated. Black folks had a section, white folks had a section. And she's getting a prescription filled. She's up at the counter. I'm in my pajamas, man. Bedroom shoes, sitting, waiting for mom. And I got thirsty. They had an old beat up raggedy fountain, and they had a brand new fountain. I'm like 4 years old. I don't read black and white. I walked up, and the white fountain had a step stool. So I go up to get a drink of water. Man, this white woman slapped me off of that step stool. I'm sliding across the floor. And she said something like, "You little nigger boy, something, something." As I'm sliding across the floor, I see my mama turn and start advancing, and she hit that woman like somebody trying to tackle a football player. And my mom was wearing her out. They went all up into the chairs, people trying to get out the way. And it caused such a ruckus. Some of the doctors came from the back, and there was a really nice white receptionist that saw the whole thing. And she was telling the doctors, "Get her out of here before the police come. Get her out of here before the police come." She was defending her child, this white woman. And I mean, you could see when she slapped me, the whole side of my face was like red, you know what I'm saying? It's swelling and started a little bit. She slapped the hell out of me, man. So the doctors did what they had to do, called the cab, got my mom out of there before the cops got there. That was my first incident with racism. Mom worked for a snake dancer on Miami Beach. Her name was Kitty. That was her stage name, Kitty. And I was sick with asthma one day. Mom took me to work with her. And when this white woman laid eyes on me, she fell in love with me. She bought all my school clothes that next year. So I was going to school in suits. She let my mother, she was so close with my mom, she let my mom drive the Cadillac home one weekend. Lord have mercy. My mom pulls up in front of the rooming house in a convertible white on white Cadillac. I don't have to tell you the crowd that drew. And it was a weekend I'll never forget. Mom also was an avid fisherman. she would get these cane poles and she would go out to the Tamiami Trail before it was incorporated, when it was just woods. And she would take a foot tub with her. And when the neighborhood saw Mom with them cane poles hanging out the window in the car, everybody was happy because they knew it was gonna be a fish fry. And Mom would come back with a foot tub. Some of y'all don't know what a foot tub is, but a foot tub is very large, okay? And she'd come back with a foot tub full of catfish and crab. And we would eat good when Mom would go fishing. Yeah, Mom, like most single black parents in America at that time, worked 2 or 3 jobs. And there's no exaggeration. So Mom would be working for the snake dancer at night and working for the school system in the daytime. I can remember a lot of time at home with my brother babysitting us, okay? Because Mom is out working. We spent a lot of hours at the house alone because Mom was out working. But my mom was a bit of a rebel, okay? She spent 2 summers trying to be an FBI agent. And I remember the last summer she came back from that training, how depressed she was because white folks just would not let her get into that profession. That bothered her for a couple of years, actually. Man, my family was so poor that I can remember the welfare food. We used to get food from the welfare, man. I mean, it was serious. We get this peanut butter in a can. You couldn't even spread it on the bread. It tear the bread up. It was so thick. We get powdered milk, man. This powder, it looked like flour. I don't want to have to tell you what that tastes like when you put it in water and you stir it up. But I mean, it was better than not having food, you know what I mean? And that lasted for, I would say from when I first remembered, I'm talking like maybe 3 or 4 years old until I was like about maybe 6 or 7, until my family got up on their feet. You know, members of the family got jobs. We started making a little money. And then the family started to flourish a little bit. And I can remember in the rooming house, man, right next to the kitchen upstairs, right next to the kitchen was this huge room where we would have Thanksgiving dinner. Oh my God. That's one of the fondest memories that I have of that rooming house. When our entire family, even some of the family from Jacksonville, where I had a reverend uncle that pastored in Jacksonville, Florida. His name was Sam E. Felder. Now this was Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben was the sign painter. All the nightclubs, man, in Overtown. Uncle Ben would do these huge billboard signs advertising the acts coming into the town, okay? I got in big trouble one day trying to help Uncle Ben paint one of his signs, okay? And my aunt, Mother Helen, we affectionately called her. This woman was a sharp dresser. Oh, she was a seamstress. In Overtown, that was her livelihood. She sewed clothes for everybody. You know, she was awesome she taught me how to sew on a sewing machine. This was Uncle Troy. Uncle Troy was the nicest guy you wanted to meet, but when he had his little drink, he was not a very good person. And he was shot by his wife 6 times. So I never met Uncle Troy. This is Uncle Pat. Uncle Pat worked for, back then it was called the Seaboard Coastline. Now it's Amtrak. And he worked for them until he retired. He worked on the loading docks down at the Seaboard. He fought in World War II, he's a vet. Had a home built. While he was overseas, he was sending his checks home to his wife Gertha Felder, and Aunt Gert was saving the money, and Aunt Gert drew the plans for their home. She designed their home. So there had to be some artistic skills there. And when he came out, Aunt Gertha had a brand new home waiting for him when he came out of the military. And guess what? They built it on a lot right in the back of the railroad. The railroad tracks ran right by their home. The house would shake a little bit when that train came through. And I can remember as a little boy, one of the summers that my mom went off to FBI camp, we got left with Uncle Pat and Aunt Gert. And the trains would come through and we'd be standing in the backyard and we'd be waving, and the white folks would be waving out of the windows on the train coming into Miami. Yeah, I remember that, man, vividly. Overtown was all I knew, okay? I can remember signs in certain places, black and white, water fountains, the whole 9 yards. Black folk could not go to the movies downtown, okay? The movies in downtown were for white folks. We had 3 movie theaters in the black community in Overtown. We had the Ritz. Now that's where the upper class blacks or professional blacks went to the movie theater. They didn't even allow kids in that theater. The Ritz Theater was located on Northwest 2nd Avenue and 9th Street. We had the Morden. The Morden Theater was located between 11th Street and 12th Street on Northwest 3rd Avenue. And that was my hangout. Saturday matinees, the westerns, the cartoons, the whole 9 yards. And then the biggest movie theater we had was the Capitol. That was on 14th Street. I went to the Capitol once, didn't really like it. It was too large for me. At the Capitol, you would feel like you were in a rock concert. It was just too large for me. I love the Morden Theater. That was my hangout. Virginia Key, all right? Lord have mercy, man. I have so many fond memories of going out there. I mean, it was something our family did a lot, especially during the summer. Going to the beach was like going to Orlando, all right, for black families back in the day. That was a major outing, you know? Right across from our rooming house, there was a car wash. And my brother, that was his job, he washed cars in that car wash. First time I'd ever seen a Lincoln in my life. And I kind of fell in love with that car. Jeffro's grocery store was right across the street. He had a little peanut stand on the outside. I remember paying a penny for a Big Jack cookie. A 16-ounce Pepsi Cola was like 12 cents. A loaf of bread was 15 cents. It was just totally different world. And I'm talking family that looked after each other. You could not do anything wrong as a kid and get away with it if your neighbor saw you do it. Because the neighbor would spank your behind, and then when mom got home, you got another whipping. Take a village to raise a child. That was, it was the everyday thing in Overtown. Attended Douglas Elementary up until my 5th grade year. Through elementary school, my job was when I got home after school, elementary school we're talking, I had to make all the room, the beds, I had to clean the rooms in that room, and that was my daily job. I can remember gathering all the linen, got it on my back, taking it to the laundromat. You know what I'm saying? I had about 7 rooms to clean when I got out of school when I was about 5th grade. Mom bought a house on 10th Avenue off of 64th Street. And we moved from Overtown to the new home. and I started Holmes Elementary. All right, Holmes is still there, right off of 12th Avenue. And I attended Holmes for a year. And then my grandmother got real sick, and we had to move back over town to take care of grandma. So mom moved the family back over town, and I finished at Douglas Elementary in the 6th grade. William Clark, he was the manager for Betty Wright. He was my art teacher, man. In 6th grade, Willie Clark.
My name is Willie Clark. I'm a school teacher for 32 years here in Dade County.
And we remained friends through the years. He gave me my first art award. I still have it. Every time he see me, he would just smile, because I knew he remembered that little kid in his class.
There were other incidents of racism that stayed with Eric.
Mom sent me to pay a bill in downtown Miami. I must have been about 10 maybe. And I had an older brother, younger sister. You think the sister would be the favorite, but it was me. I was mom's favorite. So she would often, you know, when she needed to, ask me to do certain little favors or whatever. So, boom, she sent me to pay a bill. I'm downtown, I got the bill paid, and I wanted to get a hamburger from Royal Castle, okay? Had a little change. And I went in Royal Castle and sat down on the stool, and this white man was sitting right next to me. And when I sat down on the stool, he stood up, grabbed me by my shirt, and snatched me off of the stool. Pushed me toward the door and said something like, "Get your food and get out, nigga," something like that. And there was a white woman sitting about 5 stools down. She got up. She walked over, and I'm just shaking like a leaf. She walked over, put her arm around me, brought me back to where she was sitting, sat me down, paid for my food, and she said, "You feel like you want to eat it here, or you want to take it with you?" I just wanted to get the hell up out of there. I said, "I'll take it," and I was on my way.
Meanwhile, about 90 miles south of Florida, in the Caribbean Sea, the island of Cuba has experienced a revolutionary change in their government. This would have a lasting impact on Miami for decades.
Mom died when I was 11, and my father passed when I was 14 years old. We were already poor, moving to the big city, and when Mom died, it was devastating. I was Mom's favorite, okay? And I went to bed one night with Mom, and I woke up the next morning, she had died of an asthma attack. My sister and I, we suffered with asthma our whole lives. And my brother only had asthma once in his life, never had it again. Now, my mom passed away after we moved back. Mom passed away, and my aunt raised us. This is on 15th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue in Overtown. My sister and brother could not deal with my aunt. My aunt was a strict disciplinarian. She read Ann Landers religiously. Every Sunday she was reading Ann Landers. Ann Landers wrote an etiquette column in the Miami Herald. Your sheets had to be ironed before they were put on the bed. You had to have bedroom shoes in the house. If you had on your pajamas, you had your bathrobe on. Mother Helen, we affectionately called her. She had no kids, but she raised us after Mom died. Now, there was some gang activity in Overtown, which my brother, unfortunately, was a part of. A Street, that's the street where Greater Bethel Church is located. But on the west side of 3rd Avenue on 8th Street. That was the home of the 8th Street Bulldogs, okay? And north from 20th Street to about 23rd, 24th Street was the 20th Street Sharks. Now my brother, we lived on 10th Street. My brother was affiliated with the Bulldogs. His girlfriend, Yvonne Brown, lived on 21st Street. So he had to go into Shark territory to visit his girlfriend. And it was very dangerous. Those gangs were serious back in the day. I mean, you could go up there and get shot, okay? And I remember one night I'm laying, and my room was all the way in the back. My brother and I shared a room in the rooming house, all the way in the back. And I remember one night, it sounded like the house was falling down. It was my brother who had run from 20th Street visiting his girlfriend, and them guys chased him all the way up to the front door. He almost bust the door down coming in the house that night in the upstairs part of the building. And the front door was a screen door, and then this very, very heavy, solid front door, wooden door. And once he got inside and slammed that door, all we could hear were footsteps of those guys going back down the stairs, and my brother escaped that attack. Now he did get shot. My brother got shot his senior year right in front of Booker T. Washington High School on the lunch break. Yeah, he was at lunch, and some of the guys from 20th Street Sharks, they remembered him, and he got shot in the neck, but he survived that. Overtown, classic parade. My God, man, that was, people would anticipate the coming of the classic parade for weeks. It was a major event in Overtown. And the FAMU marching rattlers was something to behold coming down 3rd Avenue in Overtown. Let's talk Booker T. Washington High School. Booker T. Washington at the time was 7th grade, 8th, 9th through 12th grade, okay? So when you graduated from elementary school, you transitioned to, you could call it junior high, but it was a high school, Booker T. Washington Senior High. The football games was a pageantry. I mean, my brother played the bass drum in Booker T. Washington's band, and he was known to cut the fool during halftime with that bass drum. Brought the crowd to their feet, screaming and yelling. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Traz Powell, legendary black football coach from the Grove, from Coconut Grove, all right? He was a member of our church, and Traz coached that senior high school in the Grove. So you talk about a rivalry, man, when Carver or Mays came up to play Booker T. Washington High School in the Miami Stadium, Lord have mercy, that was something to behold. And Howard Blake was another rivalry of Booker T. Washington. I think they were from West Palm Beach, somewhere north. But that was another big football game in Miami. But see, I only attended Booker T in the 7th grade.
There were rumors as early as 1957 that the roads were coming. People started relocating to Brownsville and other parts in the county.
Now, when that project started, my family had moved out. We were on 42nd and 12th Avenue. And I can remember black folk just so unhappy because their homes that they've been living in for all these years, I'm talking generations, okay, were just being taken from them. And you know they did not get the financing that they should have gotten for those properties. You know, it just didn't happen, you know. For little or nothing, they took those people's homes and livelihoods and just turned them upside down. And we missed it by about 4 blocks. It would have affected us. And then when they built the airport expressway, we missed it by 2 blocks. So we were right in the middle of it, but it didn't affect our family like it affected many black. I had a lot of, especially kids that I was in school with. Yeah, it was devastating, man, for the black community in Miami. Mother Helen bought a house on 42nd Street, 12th Avenue in Alapata.
4 blocks to the north of Mother Helen's home was a black community of Railroad Shops Colored Edition. On August 4th, 1947, more than 100 black residents were evicted from their homes because their white neighbors wanted their land for a school and a park. Meanwhile, in 1965, President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law. In attendance was Martin Luther King, who was one of the major advocates for this law. Martin Luther King had been coming to Miami as early as the 1950s. In 1958, he was at the Greater Bethel AME Church, the Felder's church, where he gave a speech. He was also a frequent guest at the historic Hampton House, where he met with others to strategize for the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Act changed lives for all black people in numerous and significant ways.
But when I think back, I do remember a lot of things changed. You know, I remember all the signs coming down, the black and white signs coming down. I remember places that you could not sit in, you know, like Royal Castles, Jumbos, McCory's. You know, I remember blacks being able to go in and sit at the counter and order their food and sit and eat. Now, as my high school, as it relates to my high school, Miami-Jackson Senior High School, like Miami Edison, Miami High, all the high schools in Miami were predominantly white. And when I say predominantly, I mean all white, all right? And then the first really significant change was when they had that Cuban Revolution, and all of these Hispanic people, you know, were brought here. And Miami received the brunt. And I can remember when the Hispanics had to integrate Miami-Jackson High School. Oh my God. You talk about rioting and physical fistfights. It was really bad. The white folks did not want Hispanics coming into their neighborhood. They did not. It was really brutal. And then a couple of years later, the black folks came. And the white folks had fought so hard, man, against the Hispanics. When the black folk came, I guess they just was tired of fighting it, you know. And a lot of white folks moved out of the area, you know. The blacks started coming in. Yeah. And one of the major things I remember about integration was the beaches. We were able to go to Crandon Park, okay, and ride on the train. Because we didn't have a train at Virginia Key. But over on the White Beach, they had a train, you know, that took you around. And Jumbo's Restaurant is no longer Jumbo's Restaurant. It's now a barbecue joint. But Jumbo's Restaurant, man, was an icon in Miami. I mean, dating back, I guess, okay? And black folk could not sit in jumbos. There are black folk. Now, jumbos went out of business, I would say 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. It might have been the late 90s. But up until that point, there were black people in Miami that would not go to Jumbo's restaurant because of those early years when blacks were not allowed to sit in that restaurant. The guy, his name is Bobby Flung. He's the son of the original owner. And I think Bobby tried to create some things to make up for his father's prejudices. Because he organized all kinds of little sport scholarships and stuff for high school football players and for a lot of middle school sports organizations also in the black community. Yeah, his son really stepped up after his father died. So a lot of blacks would now come, but a lot of blacks never went to Jumbos. In terms of integration, that's mainly things that I remember.
Eric attended Alapata Middle School, where he continued to draw and excel in his classes. Eric completed 2 years at Alapata Middle School and then went on to Miami-Jackson High School. It was here he experienced another incident with racism.
My football coach, after practice one day, sent me across the street to get him a pack of cigarettes. I'm walking across the street to get a pack of cigarettes, right across the street from the school. And I hear this voice, "Stop! Stop! Halt! Don't move!" I mean, I hadn't done anything, you know? And I'm walking, and this voice was behind me, like in the distance, you know? I didn't even turn around. And then all of a sudden, this white cop, jumped on my back, knocked me down into the pavement. "Didn't you hear me telling you not to move? Didn't you hear me telling you to stop?" And he's just yelling at me, man, and screaming at me and telling me what I had done. Supposedly I had just robbed some store, whatever. And he didn't handcuff me, but he twisted my arm up into my back, and he walked me half a block over to a telephone pole that had one of these call phones on it for City Miami Police Department. And he's got me jacked up, and I mean, I was all scraped up from that plunge into the sidewalk. And he found out that they had already caught the person that did the robbery. So he hung up the phone, his whole demeanor changed, but he never apologized, you know? And when he cut me loose and I went back and told my football coach, who was a white guy, legendary coach also in Miami, his name was Joe Brodsky, he was my high school football coach. Coach Brodsky jumped up out of his seat and sprinted across the street trying to find that officer. But my man was gone, he had fled the scene, you know? There was the Sir John Night Beat Hotel. My brother, again, played drums, and he used to hang out in the clubs, and a lot of times they would let him sit in with the bands. And one night, Sam and Dave was in one of the clubs down there, And my brother played, he sat in and played on Soul Man for Sam and Dave, man.
Eric had his own run-in with a celebrity in his senior year in high school when he painted a portrait of James Brown.
It was 1969. I had just finished a portrait of James Brown, a very young James Brown. In this particular painting, he still had the process in his hair. It was from the Out of Sight album he recorded back in the 50s. I found out that James Brown was getting ready to come to Miami. And I'm thinking if I could do a painting of him present day with him starting to grow his fro. So I found an album that had been released. It's called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And it had the perfect photo of James on the cover. So that's what I used for my present day portrait of James Brown. Both of the paintings were the same size. They were about 2.5 feet by 4.5 feet, about the size of a small refrigerator. Pretty large paintings. I barely got them to fit into the back of my Volkswagen. The only other thing I needed to do was get me a real nice outfit. Dipped into my lawn care money and went to Jackson Barnes, right across the street from Jackson. The block across the street from Jackson was like a block out of downtown Miami. We had jewelry stores, we had a bakery over there, shoe stores, five and dime, ice cream shop. It was a beautiful stretch of 36th Street, right across the street from the school. So the department store was Jackson Barnes. Went in there, found me a black 3-piece mohair suit, double-breasted vest, bought me a spanking new white shirt, white necktie, white tie, white hanky, and I went downtown and purchased a pair of brand new imitation from Tom McCann alligator shoes. Man, I'm going to see James Brown. I got to be clean, you know what I'm saying? I got to be clean to the bone going to see JB. Okay, so I'm all set. Showtime comes, I jump in the bug, got my paintings, and I'm rolling. Got to the Fronton 3 hours before the show was going to start. And I'm walking up to the ticket booth, and I heard someone call my name. Eric Jenkins. So I look, and it's this fine black sister with this incredible afro waving me over. She was about 10 feet from where I was standing, and she was waving me over. And I walked over, and I guess she sensed that I did not recognize her, and I did not. And she said, "You don't remember me?" And I'm like, "No, sorry." She said, "Man, your mom and my mom used to do missionary work over in South Bay. You don't remember being brought over to this house, and there was a white baby grand piano in the living room, and we used to try and play the piano and sing songs. My older brother was the one that was our babysitter." And then when she mentioned that white piano, the memory started coming back. And I'm like, oh my God, I do remember. I was talking to Betty Wright, Miami's own, the cleanup woman, Betty Wright, at a very young age. Betty was only about maybe 14 at the time, and she'd already recorded a couple of songs. and her career was taking off. She was doing real well. And she said, come on, follow me. And she took off inside the auditorium down this hallway. And I'm trying to keep up with her. She was walking really fast. And I'm trying to keep up in these tight imitation alligator shoes that I hadn't quite broken in yet. You know, we're walking on carpet. It was a little slippery. And I got the paintings flying in the wind. And we go down this long row of seats, made a couple of turns. And before I know it, I'm standing right in front of the godfather of soul himself, James Brown. Right in front of me. And I held the paintings up. And James was being interviewed by a reporter. And James asked the reporter to hold on a second. He said, hold on a second, man. Let me see what this young brother got going on here. And Betty kind of cut in. She said, Mr. Brown, this is a childhood friend of mine. He's a senior at Miami-Jackson Senior High School. And he's done these paintings, and he wanted you to check them out, see if you might be interested in purchasing one of them, or possibly both. So I said, yes, sir, Mr. Brown, my name is Eric Jenkins. I held the paintings up a little closer to him, and he's observing the paintings, and he looked at the painting with the process. And he said, man, I don't do that process hair anymore. And then he looked at the other painting from the Black and Proud album with the fro. He said, I like this one a lot. He said, I tell you what, I'm going to buy this one from you tonight. And if you change the hair on this other one, I'll purchase it also. And at that point, he had his 2 or 3 guys on one side of him sitting, and 2 or 3 guys on the other side of him sitting. I guess that was his entourage. And he asked one of the guys sitting next to him to take my paintings and put them in the dressing room. And when he did that, it vacated a seat right next to him. And he told me, he said, come on, bro, sit down. Sit down. You're going to be part of the entourage for the rest of the night. You're going to have a ball. If you need anything, just let me know. And I'll take care of you. You can hang out with the boys tonight. So, man, there I was sitting next to the godfather, Betty Wright, smiling from ear to ear. And I just felt like I was on top of the world.
A high school football injury prevented Eric from accepting a college football scholarship. He accepted a Miami-Dade Junior College Head Start scholarship in 1969. He completed 2 years and was offered another scholarship to Florida Atlantic University. The Greater Bethel AME Church remains the spiritual foundation for the family for many years. Helen Felder was the Sunday school superintendent for many years. She also served on the P.H. Felder board, the board named after her father. Eric Jenkins also played several roles within the church, including Scoutmaster his senior year in high school and beyond.
I named the drill team, Troop 75 was our troop number. Now, Greater Bethel AME Church had the first uniform Boy Scout troop in Miami. There was a church up north, but they had the first Boy Scout troop in Miami, but they didn't have uniforms, okay? We had the first uniform troop in Miami. And you know, I made the uniforms funky, man. So I named the drill team the Christian Rifles Drill Team. I'm up at Florida Atlantic, right? Black History Month rolls around. So I wanted to bring the drill team up to perform for Florida Atlantic. And I did. Got the boys up there on the lunch break. You know, all of our 16 black members were out. A lot of the white folks came out, good white folks came out. And man, we started stepping, and Lord have mercy. They stopped me. They, Mr. Jenkins, stop. Let us get a film crew. And they ran off and came back with a film crew. And they filmed my boys, man. Golly. I'm talking 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids in full dress. And they filmed it, put it on 16mm movie film. And I would show that. I showed it to a lot of people. And now I'm at Miami-Jackson High School teaching. And they have ROTC at my school. And they wanted to start a drill team. And I showed it to my students. And the word got out. Mr. Jenkins got this awesome video of these kids performing drills. So the ROTC commander came down. He said, Mr. Jenkins, we heard you got some film of drill team. Can we use that? I said, sure, man. And I let that coordinator for ROTC borrow my film. And I just forgot about it. You know what I mean? And then after about, I don't know, 7, 8 years, I needed my film for something. And I'm like, oh my God. And the guy was no longer at the school. I couldn't even remember his whole name, and I just could not find my 16mm clip of those guys. But those guys were incredible. To stop the classic parade, all right, the classic parade going down the street, and people would run out and block us so we couldn't pass, so we could hit a little step. Because they would see us a block down hitting a step, you know what I mean? And then, you know, now it's double time, we got to catch up. So the guys are running, you know, trying to close the gap in the parade, and they would block the street so that they could see those guys perform. They were incredible.
In 1973, Eric graduated from Florida Atlantic University and returned to Miami-Jackson High School to teach. Later that year, Mother Helen died and was buried at the historic Black Evergreen Cemetery.
Evergreen is on probably about 44th Street and about 29th or 30th Avenue. My sister is the only one in Lincoln. All of my other family is in Evergreen. Now, the condition of those cemeteries, this made big headline news in the black community, I would say about maybe 6, 7 years ago. And they were supposed to do something in terms of restoring that cemetery and getting it serviced on a regular basis, you know. But I mean, there's so much history. Lord have mercy, there's so much history out there in that cemetery. It's unreal. And to go out there now and you see trash all over the place, grass growing up like weeds, things broken, disturbed. It's really sad. It's sad, so sad. Up until, I would say, about 3 years ago, I would go to the cemeteries and clean the grave sites of my family. And it was an every year thing for me, you know, around Memorial Day. But the grass would grow over the graves and the dirt would pile up. And I used to have to go out there with a shovel and you know, clean the graves. And it got to the point where I couldn't even find my mother's grave. So I had to stop going. I had to stop going because it was just too emotional for me, man, to go out there. But I plan to resume. I plan to resume my activities at those graveyards, and I'm praying about that and asking God for strength. But that's a very sad part of my life in memory of my family.
By the early 1980s, the city of Miami experienced a dramatic demographic shift, with more than half of its residents with a Hispanic background. Approximately a quarter of its residents were Black, and the remaining residents were white. Black people found their economic situation changing with the changing demographic.
The only thing that I could add to that would be in the community, a lot of jobs that were held by Blacks at one certain point in time, with the influx of the Hispanics coming in, a lot of those jobs started turning Hispanic. When the government officials that's running the city of Miami started turning Hispanic, okay, of course they're looking out for their own, you know? Yeah, I can't blame them for that, but it did affect the Blacks in Miami, and it still does. To this day, it does affect every aspect of our lives, man, and our livelihoods.
Today, at Northwest 54th Street and 17th Avenue, is a street named for Arthur Lee McDuffie. In 1979, McDuffie lost his life after he was stopped by police officers due to a traffic violation.
That was a blow and a slap in the face, man, to the Black community. Body cams would have really helped with that one. But this guy runs a red light, man. An insurance salesman runs a red light, and these four officers, caught up with him, beat him to death with flashlights. Four cops. And they took the trial out of Miami, okay? Tried him in Tampa, and 4 cops walked. Janet Reno was the prosecutor at the time, and I think she did an admirable job of trying to get justice for the McDuffie family, okay? But those cops got off scot-free, and all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose in the city of Miami. It was really, you talk about the Watts riots, Miami had, you know, the equivalent of the Watts riots in Miami, Florida. It was, I think 18 people died, over 400 people injured. Brownsville, the city of Brownsville suffered the most loss. So many Blacks lost their homes in those riots with all the fires. And there's vacant land right now in Brownsville, lots, man, where there used to be Black businesses in the 50s, man, and they're vacant lots. That city has never recovered. Now it's starting to mend. It's starting to come around. But it's such a shame, you know, when something affects us in our community, it takes 15 years, you know, for it to be set right, for the wheels in the city government to start turning, you know, to make it right. and it happens in the white community for whatever reasons may be, a couple of years, they back up and running. You know, and Brownsville is a blueprint of how slowly the wheels turn for us. It's always been that way, it hasn't changed.
Meanwhile, Eric continued his tenure as a teacher at Miami-Jackson High School, teaching art and coaching football. He mentored his students and provided support for them when their parents were unable to. He taught for 43 years before retiring in 2016. But he's remained engaged in the community with several projects and art exhibitions throughout the county.